Hello, I'm Somerset County Commissioner Director Chanel Robinson, and I'm very excited to be here kicking off the History in Action with NAACP's Past and the Future virtual event. The NAACP has a long history of influencing our communities at local, state, and national level. Truthfully, our country would not be as rich, as positive, or as awesome if it were not for the work done under the banner of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I've been a member of the New Brunswick chapter, New Brunswick area branch of the NAACP for the past 6 years. And during that time, I've witnessed firsthand the work that the NAACP is doing. You know, the NAACP is truthfully what I could say is just a great organization to be a part of, a rich history, second to none. Besides being a member for the past 6 years, I am indebted to the organization for the past century of success, but also because I want to be a part of and help continue in that success way into the future. And this is not just theoretical for me. As I'm the first African-American woman to serve as Commissioner Director in Somerset County, I stand on the shoulders of the great men and women of NAACP who made this possible for me to hold this office. As for the future, again, I've seen firsthand the great influence that the NAACP has on our youth, our future leaders. My nephew participated in the Afro-Academic Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics, known as ACCP. And he has grown into a great person, a future leader. What we're celebrating today is that future. My children's future, your children's future, a future built on the history of the NAACP. I want to thank everyone for participating in this fantastic presentation and roundtable. For the reasons that we're here, I invite each and every one of you to take what you learn and hear today, the NAACP's history, and especially its vision, and carry that into your everyday lives and into your communities. Thank you. And I would like to introduce to some and present to others the first African-American and first woman Somerset County surrogate, Ms. Bernice Tina Jallo, who will be your moderator for this evening. Tina.
Good evening. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. Appreciate it. We're here today with some of our leaders and young community activists in the Somerset County area. Bruce Morgan, who is our first vice president of the New Jersey State Conference of the NAACP and president of the New Brunswick area branch NAACP, and the Region 2 representative to the NAACP National Resolutions Committee, and also with some of our young activists, Jariah McCrae from Franklin, and some of our young community activists, Jasmine DeBonner from Franklin, Elam Okansi from Franklin, Grace John from Montgomery, and Bobby Battle from Montgomery as well. We also have a special treatment for you from our Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, who, as we all know, fights for us every day in Congress. As we celebrate Black History Month, which, by the way, is Americans' history, we know how important this month is to all of us and how important the NAACP has been to the Black community, and how we cannot talk about Black history without talking about the NAACP. I grew up knowing that the NAACP's mission was to ensure the political, educational, social, and economical rights of minority group citizens of the United States and eliminate race prejudice, was seeking to remove all barriers of racial discrimination through democratic processes. As an African-American proverb states, it takes a village to raise a child. And the NAACP, since 1909, has been a major part of that village. I could not talk about the advancements that the NAACP has been a part of in America's history tonight, but as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So instead, let me show you a short video about the NAACP. That was a great video, and that has shown us that the NAACP was at the forefront of the anti-lynching bill, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, to name a few. That's why this evening it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you a dynamic, motivated civil rights activist, a man who has been at the forefront of the helm of the NAACP in our area, Bruce Morgan. Bruce, at a young age with his parents, was involved in demonstrations and supported boycotts of establishments in their community that refused to hire Blacks, which was led by the Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Bruce has supported immigration causes and was recognized for his work with the Asian Indian community by South Asian Community Organization. He was featured as a speaker of Anshe S. Temple Conference of Conscience in New Brunswick and a panelist for the American Muslim Council Forum on the Muslim ban. Through his work relationship with the local police and officials and prosecutors, he has been able to prevent youth from being arrested and provides guidance for community members seeking redress for police misconduct. Bruce is a firm believer that to make the better world, you must be socially responsible in the community you live in. His motto is, whatever you do to make a better world, do more. And tonight, he will speak about the need and the purpose of the NAACP, as well as its importance to giving back to your community. With that, I ask you to give your full attention to Bruce Morgan and assist me in welcoming him tonight. Bruce?
Thank you very much, Sarah Gonzalez. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. And I want to welcome everybody, our audience out there. I'm Bruce Morgan. I'm president of the New Brunswick area branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, commonly referred to as the NAACP. This branch was originally chartered in 1940, but after some inactivity, we rechartered in 1952, and we've been going strong since then. I also currently serve as the first vice president of the New Jersey State Conference of NAACP, and I serve on the Resolutions Committee of the National Organization. The Resolutions Committee is the place where we put policy together for the year. The NAACP just celebrated its 112th birthday on February the 12th. This branch, we're comprised of 20 officers and executive committee members and well over 200 members. We're chartered to serve 14 municipalities in Middlesex and southern Somerset County. But we are more than happy to assist any of the other branches in New Jersey when asked. And we also work with numerous community partners. The NAACP was established in 1909 and is America's oldest and largest civil rights organization. Since its inception in 1909, there has been no legislation for civil rights passed that has not, at some point, been reviewed by and given the stamp of approval by the NAACP. Of course, we celebrate Black History 365 days a year, but February offers us the opportunity to remind others of our rich history. Did you know that Black History Month is celebrated in Canada, Ireland, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom? I really wonder what's taking the rest of the planet so long to catch up, because Black lives indeed do matter. I would especially like to thank our Tri-City branch under the leadership of President Rayford Daniel and the Plainfield branch under the leadership of its current president, Sharon Robinson Briggs, and former president, Peter Briggs. It was their work, along with community partners, who brought these long-forgotten African burial sites back to a well-earned place of prominence in Somerset County. I also like to thank the African American Alliance for their help in preparing this program. And I would finally like to thank Somerset County for allowing us to be part of this program. I want to thank very much for being here, for learning about us, and we'll be talking a little more about what we're doing to move our nation forward. Thank you very much.
back to me. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about what Director Robinson mentioned in her opening remarks about ACCP, which is the youth organization of the NAACP, which is extremely important to the youth of America and Black youth. My son was in ACCP as well, and it taught him a lot of things and gave him a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. So at this point, I'd like to talk about a video from Lane Stone Inges, who is the chair of ACCP in New Brunswick.
My name is Leanne Stone Ingalls, and I'm the chairperson for the New Brunswick area branch, NAACP ACCP. ACCP is a major program of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and it is an acronym that stands for Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. ACCP, often referred to as the Olympics of the Mind, seeks to promote the following among high school students: positive self-esteem, positive interaction between our youth and the adult professional community, positive academic and artistic excellence, high academic and cultural achievement. Students who participate in ACCP can compete with other students in up to 3 of 33 categories, which includes STEM, business, humanities, performing, visual, and culinary arts. The local competition serves to showcase the hard work students have put in all year long. ACCP students who receive gold medals at the local competition qualify to compete at the national competition, where they can receive scholarships, awards, and prizes provided by national sponsors. The goals of ACCP are simply this: to prepare, recognize, and reward all participating youth who exemplify scholastic and artistic excellence. The ACCP goals are to mobilize the adult community for the promotion of academic and artistic excellence among high school youth, to recognize academic and artistic talent achievements among these students, to promote and assist students with the necessary skills to establish goals, develop confidence, and strive to pursue excellence in their field or fields of interest, to ultimately become successful contributors to society. So, if you know any high school students who live in this area that falls within our NAACP branch, I highly recommend that you have them come out and participate in ACCP. It can only be a positive, wonderful, uplifting experience, and we look forward to meeting you. Have a great evening.
That was a great video. And as she mentioned, if you have any high school students that might be interested in doing that, by all means, let them come out. But we love them to come out in this area, but if you live in another area, there's ACCP branches all throughout the state of New Jersey and the country. So please, if you know youth, have them join it, because it's a great venture to go through, and to watch other people do that, it gives people self-esteem, which is well needed in our community. Now, as promised, we have a few words from our Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is the first Black Congresswoman in the state of New Jersey. She is the founder and co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on Black Women and Girls and America 2020. She serves on the Congressional Black Caucus and many other caucuses, as well as committees, to represent our interests in Congress. Without further delay, let's hear from Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman.
The 90th anniversary of the passing of Ida B. Wells, one of the founders of the NAACP, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how far we've come and the part that the NAACP has played both nationally and locally. Throughout its history, the NAACP has stood for justice and equality in the long fight to end white supremacy that still haunts our nation. At each turn, it has refused to back down from its mission of creating a society in which all Americans can not only live but thrive. This mission has never been more important, as the Marches for Black Lives last summer demonstrated. I am continuously inspired and reinvigorated by the young people who, standing on the shoulders of giants like Wells and Du Bois, demand the justice that is their right. I've had the privilege of listening to some of the young leaders and hearing their voices as they pick up the work of our ancestors and carry this fight forward. These young leaders are here in Somerset, creating scholarships for youth through the AXO program, elevating civic responsibility throughout the community, and honoring Black history. The long arc of justice, it has not been without its fits and starts. But as James Baldwin wrote, the world is before you, and you need not take it or leave it as it was when you came in. Young people have embraced this mindset and decided clearly that they will not take it as they found it. So in that spirit, we must continue to defend the civil rights of all people, young and old alike. I'm honored that the NAACP has stood with me and so many others in its 112-year history. I look forward to standing with them in the fights to come.
Thank you. That was a great video. And as she said, no program is complete unless we hear from our youth. Our youth is our future, and we have to make sure that we help our future move forward. At that, I'd like to introduce Jariah McCray from Franklin Township, who is a rising junior at St. John's University in Queens and in Somerset County. He is a community activist and organizer and public speaker championing youth activism and mentorship. He is also a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway, champion for fair and equitable treatment of buyout buyers and sellers in the real estate industry. Jariah will introduce our young panelists. I ask you to join me in welcoming him. Jariah McCray.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Surrogate Jalal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for deciding to take part in such an event. I think it's really important to not only post about social media, post on social media about Black History Month, but actively take part in educating yourself. And I wanted to introduce some of our youth panelists who are doing great things in the state of New Jersey. So I'll just go down the list. Jasmine Bonner, Elorm Okanse, Grace Johnson, and Bobby Battle. Yes, thank you all for joining me. I kind of want everyone to hear from you the proper pronunciation of your name, and a little bit of about you, where you're living currently, you know, what grade or what level of education you're pursuing, and then we can kind of get into the line of questioning. So I guess I'll start with Elorm. Am I saying it correctly? I think you're still muted.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's Elam Okanse. I'm a Franklin Township resident. I've been in Franklin since I was 12. My parents are originally from Ghana, West Africa, but my family relocated to Franklin in 2008. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
And then I'll go, either one of you ladies can go.
I can start. I'm Grace. I'm in 12th grade. I'm at Montgomery High School. I've lived in Montgomery pretty much my whole life, and I'm planning on going to college in the fall.
Okay. And
hello, my name is Bobby Battle. I'm currently a junior at Montgomery High School with Grace. I'm very dedicated to making change, and I'm very excited to be here.
okay, so Elam, did you say that are you still in high school, or are you already pursuing a degree, or?
I know I graduated from Rutgers in 2018.
Okay. Well, congratulations. So I guess I'll start with Bobby, since you started off, you finished off last. Can you talk a little bit about what you've done, you know, or what you're doing that brought you onto the panel today?
Well, the main project that I've taken on over the course of this past year is the Black Student Union, which I founded alongside Grace and 4 other Black high school students. But besides that, I have been working with a grassroots organization called Monty for Justice, where we meet with administration, make changes to curriculum, and just try to make Montgomery as a whole more racially aware, being as it is predominantly white and Asian.
Grace, did you wanted to add on to that? Because I guess you guys are affiliated in that regard.
Yeah, we do pretty much the same things, I think. So Bobby pretty much covered it, but I'm also in the BSU and I'm also in Monty for Justice.
Okay. And then I guess I'll ask you, Elam, and then I'll circle back to you ladies and your initiatives.
Yeah, so I work as a housing organizer for an organization called Fair Share Housing Center. And in my role, in my work, I'm responsible for sharing information about new available affordable housing units, inclusionary housing units, and making sure that low-income communities who've been denied access to great communities like Franklin and Montgomery, have the information to move into those communities and stabilize themselves.
It's a coincidence that you said that because, becoming a realtor and then as I've gone through the process, I've noticed the way that people of color are treated in comparison to our white counterparts is disparaging, especially when you take the class and you learn about the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is where we get most of our current housing laws today, as you know, Elam. And even something as simple as going through I found the lending process with my last buyers who were, of color, and they had such a hard time getting fair and equitable treatment. So that's something that I've been championing. And I kind of want to pause there because, we can go on for that. But Grace and Bobby, I said I want to circle back to you because much like you, I started my school's first, Black organization at Franklin High School. It was called Black Youth Awareness, which, the goal was aimed at giving students of color an outlet to speak, right? You mentioned that Monroe is predominantly white, and that's something that is, in comparison to Franklin, the same. Our public school was majority Black and Hispanic, but the township is majority white. So I didn't really necessarily have a place where I didn't really see people who were like me, but there was no place for us to fellowship and to use our voice. Would you say that was kind of, your driving force in creating your Black Student Union, just trying to create a place for people of color to, have a voice, to have a platform?
I would say that I think our primary goal actually was just to make a space where Black students can feel comfortable and just build a stronger community within the high school, because our high school the Black population is under 3%. So I think there was a lot of disconnect between the Black students, and really, I didn't know any others personally until Bobby and I and some of the other girls on the board started the BSU. So I think that was kind of our primary goal, but we've moved on to focusing some on what we can do to build empathy within the community. We have our Black Professionals Roundtable series. Our last event is tonight. We did a series of 4 roundtables featuring Black individuals in different professions. And so that's kind of been our first project of a few projects that we're kind of working on in terms of getting that engagement with the community and getting people involved and just showing all that our Black community in Montgomery has to offer and outside of Montgomery.
Bobby, did you want to add on?
Grace pretty much covered it, but I feel like I could just quickly add, we also just really wanted Black students to be able to be surrounded by other people who were raised like them, who had the same experiences as they did, or simply who just had the same hair as them. So that was really a really important driving force for us. Perfect.
And Alum, am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, it's Alum. Just ignore the R and you got it.
Got you. So what kind of inspired you to focus primarily on affordable housing? What's been your driving force, kind of like your why in doing that?
Yeah, I guess it's just the way I was raised. My parents moved to the United States from Ghana, and I grew up in Franklin Township, graduated Franklin Middle School in 2008, Franklin High 2012. I went to community college, Raritan Valley, and then that set me up to go to Rutgers because as part of the Raritan Valley Community College program, if you graduate with an associate's degree, you get easy entrance into state school. So I realized once I graduated from Rutgers that I've been set up to succeed by the community I've lived in since I was a child. And in thinking about what I wanted to do with my life and how I wanted to live it, I decided that the best way to give back or to represent the foundation that my parents instilled in me is to do community work. So after I graduated, I volunteered for a year at AmeriCorps Volunteer with New Jersey Community Capital, which is a community development financial institution where I really learned about the housing struggle in the country and in the state. So after my volunteer year, I got a job with Fair Share Housing Center, and I'm doing community work. One thing I could share, it's there's an opportunity right now in Montgomery Townships, the apartment at Montgomery Crossings, where low-income communities who've historically been denied access to a community like Montgomery could actually move to Montgomery because there's inclusionary housing, affordable housing available for them. So, yeah.
So what are you hoping will come of that? Like long term, where do you see that heading?
We all want a community where everybody has a fair share, everybody has a fair shot to live in prosperity. And if you look at the state of affairs right now, you have places where there's segregation of wealth and income. Places like Montgomery, where historically it's just been a white community, or it's been an affluent community, and low-income communities, particularly Black and Brown communities, don't have the resources and income necessary to move to a place like Montgomery. And if you can't live in Montgomery, how can you attend the schools in Montgomery? That's how it works. So with our work at Fair Share, we're trying to create opportunity for low-income communities who are segregated to certain parts of the state to get access to all the communities in New Jersey that have resources, and they can make an impact on the culture in that place and transform it a little bit to make the state a place that's welcoming to all people.
And so briefly, before we kind of wrap up this portion, and this is open for anyone, just one last question, how do you suggest younger students, whether they're of color or not, can get involved, make a difference in their communities, in their schools, so on and so forth? And anyone can take this.
I feel like I've said a lot, so I'll be quiet.
Grace, Bobby, you have any insight?
Yeah, I can start. So I think one of the things, I know it's a lot to ask any student to start a group or anything like that, but I think one of the most important things is just showing up and showing your support. If there are events going on or are projects or initiatives going on to help help in terms of social justice, I think it's important to take a moment of your time and get involved in it. If it means just going to something like this and sitting for an hour and listening and watching and learning, I think that's really beneficial in itself.
And I feel like I would also quickly just want to add that yes, getting involved is a lot of hard work and it can be stressful, but you have to start somewhere. And as Grace was saying, no matter how small it is or how big it is, just having a starting point and going from there is really important.
Perfect. I thank you. I believe Surrogate Jallo has some questions she would like to add and pose to the group.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome again. I want to congratulate you guys on work that you've done very well. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. For Bobby and Grace, I understand that in Montgomery, we have our first Black councilwoman, Shelley Bell. Have you guys reached out to her to try to help her assist you or go to council meetings? Either one can take that.
We haven't reached out to her explicitly for Black Student Union activities, but I do work with her actually very frequently. I'm also the co-chair of the Youth Leadership Council in the township, which is separate, but we do a lot of work with her because she's the liaison for us. So it's definitely on the table.
Okay. And then Liam, I'm going to say it wrong. Anyway.
It's Elam.
Elam, sorry. How how can people utilize your agency if they're looking to move to another area, which is, you know, not necessarily open to a lot of Black people and the housing is out of their reach? Is there any way that your organization can help them with that?
Oh, yeah. I'd say first things first, there's a great website, the New Jersey Housing Resource Center. The legislation recently passed to mandate that all inclusionary housing opportunities in the state of New Jersey get placed onto that website. And so if folks are just looking for a place to go to today, right now, to get started, to find a new community to move into, that'd be the first resource I'd suggest. Another thing is you can just reach out to our office. You can email me, ellmckenzie@fairsharehousing.org, little plug, and we can get started with the work.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. And again, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate this. You guys have been great.
Thank you.
Make us proud.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to introduce someone who does a lot of work in the county, our Deputy Director, Sarah Sui. She's here to be with us because she supports us in everything we do. Please help me in welcoming Sarah Sui.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to see everyone really joining in on tonight's meeting, and just so thrilled to see all the youth involved. It's my understanding that we're going to have a dialogue with Mr. Morgan here tonight. And is he on with us? I saw him earlier.
I'm on. How you doing? Great seeing you.
Great seeing you too,
Yeah.
even if it's virtual.
Yes.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Mine too.
Now, I understand we have, you mentioned it earlier about the African American burial grounds that we're trying to, that we do have some in Somerset County, right over in Bedminster in the Lamington section.
Exactly.
If you could speak a little bit more about that before we segue into our next clip, I'd appreciate it.
I'm proudly speak of that. I am very happy that, that Somerset is recognizing that these places are there, that these are sacred grounds that our ancestors, toiled for and secured for a resting place for eternity. And it's so happy that that the town understands that these are sacred grounds for us. They are blessed. They are our ancestors sleep and rest there. And from that spot, those two spots, the energy just, irradiates for our future, for our children, and our children's children. And I just want to, I'm just so happy that they're there. I'm happy that Somerset is kind of showing off a treasure that our ancestors have left for them. And I'm hoping, are we ready for the videos yet? Because I really want to, I'm anxious. I want to bring this to bring it home. Yes, this is a perfect opportunity for us to show that these places are there and how they came about. We had two of our branches, the Tri-City branch and the Plainfield branch, kind of led the charge with the NAACP, got with the community historians and residents to bring these places to life and to show the prominence of them. So without further ado, I'd like to bring you the African burial sites of Somerset County.
This was the monument that it took us around 6 or 7 years to get placed and to be authenticated. It was erected by the Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders in 2015, and it was dedicated in 2016 twice in the month of June to coincide with the original purchase, which was the first purchase done that's recorded on any deed officially recorded in the state of New Jersey. And this was by a person by the name of Mr. Robert Aarons, who was born in the 1700s as a free man and died somewhere along 1802. But this was after the purchase of the property. This is the first purchase that was recorded by a deed, official deed, to an African American, as far as we know, in New Jersey, and that was 1801, prior to New Jersey abandoning and also abolishing slavery, at least partial slavery, which was something like 1846. In June 22nd, 1801, 3 African men, one a freed African by the name of Robert Aarons, and 2 slaves, purchased 1/10 of an acre of land from Aaron Malik for $3, establishing the burial ground that's for black people in the neighborhood, principally slaves and free person. It is authenticated that we have approximately 70 burials that was done on this plot of land. The land is 66 by 66, 66 feet by 66 feet, a square that borders on hillside, and at that point in time, hillside went all the way to Peapack, which is one of the northern points of this. This was a major road from Somerville to Peapack. The 2 slaves were owned at that point in time by Aaron Malik, and whose name was Robert, and then Aaron Van Dorn was the slave master for Zeph, and Zeph was a name that they used quite frequently to describe slaves of African descent. The burial ground has been here. They originally erected the first city hall for Bedminster Township here on this land. However, the front of the land was as if it was a lawn, but this is really the burial grounds for the African slaves. Blacks who were members of the Lamberton Presbyterian Church. Remains of Civil War veterans fought heroically for the Union. As I said before, that's really another thing. As lie here, as you walk through the grounds, note the Bible passages on some of the markers and enjoy the feeling of peace. Again, this is just evidence of even one that's on the National Historic Record of why we must maintain all burial grounds are sacred. And it behooves us as African Americans to respect our dead, because these are the shoulders in which we stand today. They did the hard toiling. They were not full citizens, at least for part of their lives, or for most of their lives. And this is why it's so significant for us to remember our history. And that is an issue for a civil rights organization, because how can we understand what toils that these folk went through so that we might remain here and that we are free today? Is because of the work that they did. That should be recognized, it should be remembered, and it should be hallowed. And that's the reason we're fighting so hard to designate that burial ground up on Hillside Avenue in Bedminster, so that we can remember this. And this is what I'm saying. This is a much, much larger area. And I don't know how many graves are here, but probably a couple of hundred. But even if we had only 70 in that 66 feet by 66 area, which I don't really believe that either, we have a lot of Americans that were buried here, even up until the early 1900s. It's something that we must maintain. If we forget our history, then we're deemed to repeat it. And these are the things that they did for themselves and toiled for to get it done. And if we can't keep that legacy going, then we will have no legacy. 1818 and died in 1908. But you know, this is our legacy. This is our legacy. This is what I'm trying to get some of the historians too, some of the black and white historians, to kind of come back and let's go and look at all of these grave markers and try to decipher which families there are and where those families went.
My heart pumps every time I see that. That's me there. That's my children. That's my grandchildren. I thank you. I thank you, Commissioner, for bringing this to light and keeping the spotlight on this. Thank you.
Absolutely. This is an integral part of, the fabric of Somerset County, and it's a part of our history. And, a point that Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman made tonight is that, especially as a servant leader, someone who's serving the public as an elected official, we really want to make sure that this is a place where all Americans can not just live, but thrive. So I have to ask you, what are 3 takeaways that we can have from today to make sure that we continue to move the needle forward?
That's easy. We have to work, we have to respect, and we have to hope.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. And it's always a pleasure to see you. And, that is the most, I would say, pivotal part of all this. It's great to see the youth involved because, not to sound corny, but you are the future. We can't do this alone, and we got to, keep moving because we're not there yet. If there's anything that we've learned, especially most recently, we are not there. And, we got to keep fighting.
But it's great too that you talk about the youth, because like Ellen is a member of our executive committee. Jariah is a member of our branch. And Bobby and Grace, we hope to bring them along. Even if not the NAACP, if any organization that they want to, just work with and keep the legacy alive. I've taken up a new chant instead of saying passing the torch. I think we need to light the torch, because we can't just, give it to somebody else and forget about it. We have to stay in the fight with them. And the NAACP, the youth movement is very strong. It's very strong.
And I would just like to extend, to all the youth throughout Somerset County, we open our doors. If there's any way that any of us can be a mentor, do not be, shy to just send us an email, give us a call. If there's someone that, can reach us personally, I hope I'm not speaking out of line, but all of the commissioners, all the elected officials, Sarah Gattina Jallo, anything we can do to, walk you through what exactly we do every single day and what a great impact it has. So we saw a bit of it for Somerset County, but there's so much more to share.
Thank you. And we hope to make a closer bond with Somerset County. And we're here for you also. So please, it goes both ways. If you need us, we're here.
Thank you.